Hello and welcome back to all of you in the Smelly Army. So if you saw my last video, you'll know that last week I was contacted by a mysterious gentleman by the name of Dr. Kremens Bulovich, who claimed to be releasing a new fragrance, and he wanted me not only to review it but to help him to name it. He was offering me £40,000 tax-free in the palm of my greasy hand, as he put it. And I promised to give you some more episodes in this saga of emails, so let me tell you what happened after that. So here comes the next one that I received. So he then, later that same day, after the first email, he said, "Hi, Mr. Smelly. There has been a huge development in the past 30 minutes and I wanted you to be the first to know. The fragrance name will be called Swordfish. It is imperative we meet ASAP. Can you meet tonight or tomorrow? We need to carve out plans. Thanks, Kremens. Good day from Vlad Bully." Then he quickly followed it up the next day with this one, titled by him, "I'm on the train to London." At this point, I've not answered him at all. "Where would be a good spot for us to meet? Munchies. Shall we have munchies? It's always good carving out a deal over a nice bit of French cuisine. Covent Garden, maybe." He goes on. "I could barely sleep last night. After the naming was final, I was just so excited. You must share this feeling, knowing you will be an equal partner in this deal. 2% share for you. Swordfish will be spoke about from Moscow to Mongolia, and it will be thanks to your review. This is why I promised to pay you, no tax, £30,000. Notice it's gone down. Easy peasy for a review, hey? But it must be an outstanding review or no payment. Okay, so let me know where to meet. Sun is shining and we are all excited about Swordfish. Crams. Good day from Vlad Bully." Hello everyone, welcome back to all of you in the Smelly Army. So today we're going to be having a look at the top 5 fragrances that Jeremy Fragrance made me buy. This video is sponsored by my friends over at Fragrance Samples UK. You can buy samples of all the fragrances featured in the video there. There's a link in the description. They have a huge range of niche and designer, hundreds and hundreds of niche and designer fragrances there, sizes from 1 to 10ml, and they ship around the world. If you're in the UK or one of 14 other countries in the EU, then they can ship to you directly just by ordering in the normal way through their website. If you're elsewhere in the world, simply email them at info@fragrancesamplesuk.com and they can get those orders out to you. Sampling fragrances is the way to go, guys. Don't blind buy stuff until you've tried it, if at all possible. Okay, so let's get into these 5 fragrances. So Jeremy Fragrance, obviously the biggest fragrance reviewer personality on YouTube, and I actually just thought this could be a really interesting video because of the surprising variety of different styles and genres of fragrances that Jeremy Fragrance has actually brought to the world's attention, including mine, or at least a lot of the people on YouTube have discovered fragrances through watching Jeremy Fragrance videos. And he doesn't just talk about your obvious new releases, and of course he gets attractive women and does Bleu de Chanel versus Dior Sauvage, and the real mainstream stuff is there, but he has actually unearthed or brought to our attention quite a few really interesting fragrances, and the variety of stuff in this video actually really rather interesting. Let me know in the comments below if Jeremy Fragrance made you buy any fragrance, especially if they're surprising or different or unusual choices. He does feature more variety than some people perhaps give him credit for on his channel. People may say, Mr. Smelly, you're obsessed with him. Well, of course, I know that a video with his name will get a little bit more attention for me, but I wouldn't have made it if I wasn't actually able to find 5 really interesting and diverse scents. So let's get stuck into them. The first one, as you can see here, is Jean Paul Gaultier's Le Male Popeye Eau Fresh. Okay, this was first released in 2016. Perfumier was Nathalie Gracia-Seto, and the notes in this one include mint, I would say a kind of bubblegum accord. There's neroli, there's some aldehydes, and the overall impression really is this combination of mintiness, a bit of a bubblegummy sweetness, and a fresh linen kind of feel, which makes it actually really good for hot weather, but not the obvious citrus or aquatic type fragrance that we maybe think of in hot weather, which is why I'm wearing it today on quite a warm day here in the United Kingdom. It's really, really clean smelling. It's got a freshness about it, but this interesting sweetness, this slightly synthetic kind of ambroxan accord mixed with an almost bubblegum-esque note, which normally wouldn't be my thing, but it's so cleverly done with a little bit of neroli giving it this extra sort of very pleasing cologne-like freshness, but a modern feel at the same time. And of course it was Jeremy Fragrance who, when it first came out in 2016, said this is the #1 mint-based fragrance. And then he usually kind of says stuff twice, and I think he was walking along the beach and maybe getting the opinion of young ladies, and he mentioned it, I think, in at least 2 or 3 videos, and I was fascinated to try it out. It was a really good price. It went on special offer in the UK, and I've had it about 3 years, still reach for it relatively often. You can see, you know, I've made a dent in it, and it's lovely, lovely stuff. Performance okay, not amazing. Spray heavy on this one, guys. Nowadays they've got a Superman version with exactly the same smell, and one with some funny faces, so they keep reissuing it in different bottles. But I really like this one, and I want to know what your opinion is about it. So thank you, Jeremy, for helping me discover that one. Don't forget, if you'd like to join the Smelly Army private members club over on Patreon, there's a link in the description to do that. It costs just $2 a month, and you get an extra video from me every week, plus you get to watch everything I've already uploaded in there. We're building a really nice community, lots of interaction, and I'd love to see you in there. Moving on then, something completely different, and you may be surprised. L'air du Desert Marocain from Andy Tower of Tower Perfumes, a 2005 release. You may think, well, Jeremy Fragrance doesn't talk about that kind of stuff much. Well, he used to. A lot of his old videos are deleted. He's cleaning up his history of his channel, so it only represents perhaps what he wants his brand to be about now. But I remember a video, I don't know if it was an individual review, but it was about the most interesting niche fragrances in his opinion, or something like that. And the most artistic kind of fragrances, and he knows his stuff. You know, people think that he doesn't know much about fragrances. I think he really does, and he really waxed lyrical about how good he thinks L'air du Desert Marocain is, and he kind of really said it in an exaggerated German man doing a French accent, L'air du Desert Marocain, and it made me interested. And of course, as he described it, it's supposed to symbolize the smell or the feeling of a night out in Morocco, with the air of the Moroccan desert, perhaps coming into a town where you're in a bar, and it picks up some of the smells of the market in Morocco. So some of the notes on this one include coriander, cumin, petitgrain, rock rose, jasmine, cedar, it's complex stuff, vetiver, ambergris. There's incense in here. It's really a spicy, woody, dry, earthy incense smell, but it's like the best incense you've ever smelled in your life. Really exotic, but actually very wearable. I think there's a bit of lavender and even a hint of an undertone of the barbershop in there, and I think it's actually much more wearable than the exotic imagery perhaps would lead you to believe. A beautiful fragrance with really strong beast mode performance, and it was originally, for me, Jeremy Fragrance who mentioned it in a video. I then explored other reviewers who gave it a more in-depth treatment than Jeremy generally does, but I have to thank him for first drawing my attention to that one. Moving on, next up, completely different again, Artisan Pure from John Varvatos. So a much more recent release, I think it might have been 2017. Rodrigo Flores Roux, the perfumer on this one, the man who brought us the modern version of Fougère Royale by Hubigant, and I think Tom Ford's Neroli Portofino, so he knows how to do freshness. Some of the notes include bergamot, petitgrain, spices. There's a greenness about this one. It's got coriander seed in there as well. I actually think it bears a fairly interesting similarity to Xerjoff's Neo, which is much more expensive. It's beautifully fresh and citrusy. It's green. It's got a subtle kind of spiciness under there and a lovely kind of cedarwood dry down. Really, really beautiful and quite different, natural smelling, fresh fragrance. Smells like a niche quality freshy to me, and I absolutely love it. Performance just so, and again, it was Jeremy Fragrance when it first came out who really said, you know what, this is a really good fragrance, guys. I think he might even have been at the launch party. They didn't invite me for some reason, but yeah, it was Jeremy who first talked about this on YouTube, or at least the first video I saw, and it wasn't on my radar at all. Probably wouldn't have tried it. Say what you will about Jeremy, he publicizes things and draws attention to things that some of us, including, you know, even someone like me with a channel, might not notice without him. So thank you to the charismatic German. A great release, actually, that one, amongst modern freshies from designer houses. We've got 2 more to go. Another surprising one coming next, and this is Bentley for Men Intense. Bit like the L'air du Desert Marocain, Jeremy highlighted this one as being a really interesting, niche smelling, adventurous kind of smell if you're into the artistry of fragrances. Really not the kind of thing his audience usually like, and the young ladies in the video probably would say it smells old man. In fact, I think they did when he showed it to them. Don't know if the video's still up there. It was in a list, I think, with other things. At least 1 or 2 times, though, he mentioned this as a fantastic artistic fragrance, and indeed it is just that niche quality, really. Buying a sample of this at Fragrance Samples UK would be a great idea if you have not yet tried it. It has black pepper, patchouli, bay leaf, rum, very importantly, vanilla, benzoin, leather and incense in there. So it's a boozy opening. It really smells like rum or whiskey. Loads of patchouli, a little bit of a leathery undertone, but a very nice smooth leather, but it's quite masculine, it's quite heavy, it smells quite mature, quite grown up, really good longevity, and it does have this vanillic sweetness. The dry down gets a little bit less in your face and you end up with this very pleasant kind of incensey, woody, vanilla, grown up type dry down after the rather in your face boozy opening. But it's sensational stuff and well worth trying, I think. Bentley for Men Intense. And, you know, again, for me, thank you to Jeremy Fragrance, because I might not have thought of this one. Bentley's not the biggest house, the one you always go for, but I saw his video. He really kind of admitted it wasn't the kind of thing that many of his audience would enjoy. But he did draw our attention to it, and many of us have discovered it since, by other means maybe, but for me it was Jeremy Fragrance who led me to that one. So moving on then, the final one that I want to discuss, of course, it's the obvious one, La Nuit de l'Homme, the 2009 release from the House of Yves Saint Laurent. Used to be apparently Jeremy's fragrance of choice, his #1, when he first started his channel. Notes include bergamot, cardamom, lavender, vetiver. To me it smells a bit, there's an undertone of Coca-Cola about it. There's a sweetness, a woodiness, and a pleasing, sophisticated, masculine, sweet and sexy and seductive smell about this one. If you want something as an alternative to 1 Million by Paco Rabanne that's very sweet and bubblegumish, this has, in a way, the sweetness in a man's fragrance that you might enjoy, but there's something rather complex and sophisticated about the smell. Lots of talk about reformulations. At Fragrance Samples UK, they've actually got a few different vintages that you can sample, so great fun to do that, I think, if you're interested comparing those kind of things. I've got a 2015 bottle here. It doesn't perform amazingly well, but it does smell really good, and if you spray a lot, it's not an issue. Get a decant, or if you get your sample from Fragrance Samples UK, get a 5 ml, take it out with you, keep spraying it. You can really find out if you like this one. So La Nuit de l'Homme, at that time when he first started his channel, he said it was the best thing since sliced bread. I think he doesn't mention it as much, but he's really famously associated with that one, and much of the hype train around it really originated with the charismatic German. So guys, let me know which fragrances you've discovered through Jeremy Fragrance's channel, or any other channels, even mine. I'd love to know your thoughts on that. Thanks ever so much for watching. Remember, whatever you're doing in life, let's project. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.